So when you talk about performance in the Indian EV space, one brand stands out which has set the benchmark, and that is Ultraviolette. First with the F77 and later with the bonkers F99, which they claim is the fastest Indian. And now they have got us something very interesting called the X47 Crossover. As the name suggests, this is not a proper naked bike or a pakka adventure bike. It sits in between. So is it the proper and perfect EV performance electric bike for the Indian market? Let's find out. Since we have set the benchmark for performance, so let's start with performance, and the numbers are very impressive. 40 horsepower, 100 Newton meters of torque, 0 to 40 in just 2.7 seconds, a top speed of 145 kmph. So the Ultraviolette X47 has the right numbers and you feel them in the real world as well. The acceleration of this motorcycle is very exciting. You feel that wave of torque, or should I say the tsunami of torque, because this is an EV. So when you want to shoot off the line at the traffic signal, the X47 is really fun. But it's just not straight line speeds, it's also the way the throttle has been calibrated. The throttle calibration is superb. There are multiple levels of regeneration also. So when you want to slow down, there is engine braking which makes this EV feel like an ICE motorcycle. So in terms of the ride feel, in terms of the thrill that you want from an EV performance motorcycle, the X47 delivers. So Ultraviolette calls the X47 a crossover. It's not a hardcore adventure motorcycle. So how was it on off-road? Well, it lives up to its name of a crossover. It's not too good, it's not too bad. You can do mild off-roading on this motorcycle. The standing position is very good. It is very easy to maneuver also. You do feel the weight of the motorcycle a bit when you're taking the U-turns and all those things. But there is so much power. The torque, instantaneous torque, just makes it so much fun to slide around the motorcycle. And yeah, off-road you can have fun, but yeah, it is limited in its approach. The X47 is offered with two battery pack options. The smaller is a 7.1 kilowatt hour unit and the larger battery is rated at 10.2 kilowatt hour. UV claims an IDC range of 211 km and 323 km for both the battery packs respectively, and in the real world one can expect around 250 km of range from the larger unit. The X47 is positioned as a more relaxed tourer and the 250 km range is actually not bad. And it also comes with a much lower running cost too. For charging too, there are multiple options. There is a standard charger as seen on the F77, or you can offer an onboard charger for an additional cost. And all you need to do is carry a cable with you and charge the bike wherever you want. There is also the boost charger option which reduces the charging time further. And finally, the quickest option remains the DC chargers at the dealerships. And even the styling of the X47 is very different compared to the F77. Yes, the headlight form is similar to the F77, but that's the only similarity with the two motorcycles. You get a nice tall windscreen, you also get a nice long beak. The upside down fork gives the motorcycle a nice mean face. Moving forward, it also has tank extensions. Again, a very street bike kind of a feel over there, but in profile you can see the adventure silhouette of this motorcycle. The rear section is very clean and very nice. The overall form of this motorcycle is very unique and very different for any other motorcycle in the market. So if you want some visual appeal also, the X47 delivers on that front. However, the fit and finish levels on this motorcycle was not up to the mark. There were some loose wires, but Ultraviolette claims that this is pre-production. On the production model, the quality levels will be better. We hope so, but in terms of the styling, just like the F77, which is very timeless, the X47 is very unique. The X47 crossover comes loaded with technology and cool features. It is the first made in India bike to come with radar technology. The model is fixed on the rear and has a range of 200 meters. It helps the rider with blind spot warning on the mirror, helps in changing lanes by warning the rider, and my favorite tech is the rear collision assist. It warns the rider by blinking on the screen and also activates the rear indicator to alert the rider or driver behind. The tech is actually useful and works well, but it needs to have some haptic or audio alerts, as a rider will not always look at the mirror or the screen and focus more on the road. Apart from this, you also get dynamic stability control. Now, this system works in conjunction with the regen and ABS to ensure that the bike doesn't deviate much under hard or panic braking. The above tech is really cool and ensures that the rider doesn't lose control even with a tank slapper. Other interesting bits on the bike include multiple levels of traction control, ride modes, regen, and also there is hill hold function. Riders can also see the lean angle they have carried on the screen, and there are multiple screen layouts too. You also get a dash camera at the front and rear to record your ride as an optional accessory, along with a secondary touchscreen which shows you real-time footage. Apart from recording your memories, the dash camera is also a useful proof when you find yourself in a sticky situation, which sadly is way too common on Indian roads. So on the hardware front also, Ultraviolette has done a lot of changes on this motorcycle. As you can see, it gets long travel suspension at both ends, 170 mm of travel. The rake is more relaxed on this by 1 degree compared to the F77. The main frame remains the same, but the subframe is completely different, and that's the same story for the swing arm as well. Instead of the cast aluminum swing arm that you see on the F77, you get a steel box swing arm which is longer. As you can see, the cost cutting is evident over there, but it also adds more stiffness to the motorcycle because this is supposed to do a bit of off-road as well. Now coming back to the ride aspect, we got to ride this motorcycle around this beautiful racetrack. Over here, the handling dynamics of the X47 was very good. I had a lot of fun on this motorcycle, especially the way it transitions from one corner to another. It doesn't feel its weight. It is a heavy motorcycle, but you don't feel the weight. It feels very planted. It eggs you to push more and gives the rider a lot of confidence. And even with those tires, which I was a bit skeptical, you can carry a lot of lean. So if you want something motorcycle which is good for handling, I think the X47 does deliver on that end. Talking about the ride quality, the front suspension worked well. I think the rear is set up on the softer side. We couldn't change the preload today, but maybe once you bump up the preload, the rear suspension also would perform better. Coming back to the brakes, you get dual channel ABS. The braking hardware is very good. It stops very well, but on the racetrack when I was pushing it a bit hard, I could feel a bit of brake fade. But then again, you won't be riding this motorcycle on the racetrack day in, day out, so the brakes are fine. So in terms of the overall dynamics, the X47 is very fun, very exciting and very rewarding. So let's check out the ergonomics of the new X47 Crossover. First up, the seat height. The seat height is pretty tall at 820 mm, but I think that is standard for most of the adventure motorcycle. It also has a good ground clearance of 200 mm. Now once I sit on the bike, as you can see, I am able to flat foot. I weigh around 100 kg. I am 5 feet 10 tall. For me, this is not an issue. Even for shorter riders, I don't think so this will be an issue because the width of the motorcycle is very narrow. It's not very wide. So the seat height is kind of accessible. Now let's move on to the riding ergonomics. Now this is a big change compared to the F77, which was very sporty. The X47 is more relaxed. You get a nice flat wide handlebar. The foot peg is center set. So as you can see, the riding posture is very upright and very comfortable. So in terms of touring, the riding ergonomics is perfect. Even for the pillion, you can see there is a lot of space. One thing that would be of bother is the weight of the motorcycle. This particular variant weighs more than 200 kg. So maybe when you want to push the bike around, yes, it has park assist, but you will feel the weight. So that is one thing of concern. Apart from that, the overall ergonomics is much more accessible and much more comfortable compared to the F77. So as you can see, Ultraviolette has done a great effort with the new X47 crossover, because this is more accessible in terms of the price point and in terms of the use case also, because the F77 was very single focus. The X47 on the other end has dual purpose in its nature. The riding posture is much more relaxed, the performance is there, the range is there, and it also has a lot of technology. So Ultraviolette has delivered on that end. And talking about the pricing also, it is affordable to a certain extent, because for the first 1000 buyers, the base variant is priced at 2,49,000 and it will increase to 2,74,000 after that. We don't have the pricing for the top end variant, but we are expecting it to be costing around 1 lakh rupees more than the base variant. And I think that is a lot of money, because that again goes into a territory when you get a lot of good performance ICE motorcycles, especially in the adventure segment. But as an effort, I think the X47 is very good. So if you want a performance electric motorcycle for the Indian market, which is usable, accessible and fun, the X47 is a good choice.